All right, I think we are live over here. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening for everyone dialing in to our webinar of today. We're gonna give you all a couple of seconds, a minute or something to dial in that everyone can get settled. So if you want to grab quickly a glass of water, coffee need to be a quick one, that you're settled for the next 45 minutes, then do so, and then we're gonna kick it right off over here. Always interesting to see where everyone is dialing in from today. So when you're just arrived here, coming in, just drop in the chat where you're dialing in from. Then we have a good overview, and then we will take it from there. I'm Christian. I'm the sales manager at Elimity, and I will be your host of today. And in a second, I will also introduce you to our panel speakers. All right. So what we're going to have on today, actually, it's one of my favorite kind of webinars, ones that we don't have so often, but we have one of our proud customers here, Q42. What Q42 is and what they're doing and what kind of business they are, that's something that Jasper will explain you in a second. But who do we have here today with us? On the one hand side, we have Martin. For our regular viewers, Martin, you all know him quite well. He is responsible for our product within Elimity. And then indeed we have Jasper, Managing Director of Q42, one of our customers, who will take you along a bit on the journey with Elimity, why Elimity, and all those kind of things. So I will share with you the kind of things we're going to cover. Like I already said, we're going to check into what is Q42, what are they doing, and all those kind of things, the challenges and the need for their ISO 20001, their approach to identity governance, why choosing Elimity, and then we close that off with a live demo. Of course, like you're used to, or for the ones that are new, we always like to have things interactive. So please, whenever you have questions, raise them, put them in the chat, and of course, there will be a Q&A afterwards. So that's basically the kind of roadmap for the next, let's say 45 minutes. And then if you are in Central European time, then it's a good moment maybe to close off your working day and have a really nice evening. So welcome everyone again. And with that being said, I will hand over to Jasper.
Hi, nice to meet all of you. Let me start with giving a quick introduction of Q42, what kind of company we are before I'll get to how we came to select Elimity for access management control. So Q42 is a digital product studio. We develop digital products that make people's lives easier, smarter, and more fun. Actually, we are a group of software developers that are around already 25 years this year, and we create apps and websites with a focus on the user. We're really keen on making sure that we make solutions that are really easy and nice to use. We're a group of over 100 engineers, and we're based in Amsterdam and The Hague in the Netherlands. Since a couple of years, we're part of Eidra, which is a consulting collective consisting of strategists, creatives, and engineers, where we're not just the techies creating all these nice products, but working more with interdisciplinary teams to create the solutions. We are very proud of many of the projects that we did, and also awards that we won by doing them. And we've been named the best Dutch digital production agency a couple of times, and we're proud to be awarded with Webby's, Lofi's, and other awards. Now, it can be the chances there that some of you might have used one of the products that we are working on, especially in the Netherlands. There, it's And there we are working on a couple of products that a lot of people use, like HEMA, which is a retail store. We developed their app for their e-commerce app, but also for the Dutch National Post Office for every tracking of your packages is the app that we make. But already for 20 years, we work together with the Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands, where we work on all of their digital outings, the websites, the app internally in the museum to do the tours. And that's really a website that, if you don't know it, I highly recommend it to go there after this webinar. First, you stay here to listen to us, but it's something where you can go on endless tours through beautiful art collections. There is really world standard for a museum website. And maybe on a different kind of product that we're working on is the Philips Hue lamps, which are smart. It's a smart lighting solution that's connected to the internet, and we create and develop and maintain the complete cloud platform for that. So everywhere in the world, when someone uses a voice control to turn on the lights, it goes through the platform that we developed for them and maintained. And besides doing projects and consulting for customers to help them deliver better solutions, we also have a couple of our own initiatives. One of them is Hack the Planet, where we use our knowledge and expertise in pragmatic technology to try to tackle some of the problems that are in the world. And the folks at Hack the Planet are really focused on the poaching problems in nature parks in Africa, and they developed a range of solutions of smart cameras and GSM sensors to have that, and we've put it out in the nature parks there to detect when poachers are going around or wildlife is approaching certain villages, so that the rangers are notified in time. And this is a way for us where we invest in that to have one way of having a good impact on the world and helping to try to solve some of the problems that are there. And another venture that we have is a puzzles company, which is actually a team within Q42 that they design and think of new kind of puzzles and develop all these kind of digital puzzle solutions, which is used in many of the Dutch newspapers, but also in Belgium, if there are some Belgium listeners here, like the newspaper like De Morgen, which is quite a big newspaper. All the puzzles on their website are developed by us and generated by our software, giving many people a daily moment of joy, and that's what we really like. So why did we go for an ISO certification? Because that's the trajectory that we were in, and our challengings there, and then how did we get to Elimity? Well, basically, it was that Hack the Planet initiative that I was just talking about. One of the solutions that they created was a smart camera and an elephant repeller. And this is a problem that we learned about, that in the villages, in some of these nature parks in Africa, there's a real human-elephant conflict. You have these villages, they grow their own vegetables, and then elephants are walking around, and they come to those villages, and they eat up all those crops or destroy those. And then when the people there see those elephants there, they scare them away or they shoot them, and that we don't want. And then with the smart camera solution that we created, we have all these cameras there around these villages, and they recognize if there are elephants walking there, And then they start to make all these kinds of noises to scare away those elephants, that they don't come into those villages. And that's working really well. And doing that work also got into the attention of, actually in the Netherlands, of our basically our state forestry department, from some of the nature areas in the Netherlands, where there's we're having in the last couple of years quite some challenges with the wolves that are they came out of Germany into the Netherlands, and there's a lot of hunters hinder from that. And actually, the technology that we developed could be a really good solution to see and detect where those wolves are around. So they are also, the department was really enthusiastic. But then we got there into the situation that from a government contract, you have to have an ISO 27001 certification. It's just it's non-negotiable. You just have to have it. And that we had a couple of times in different opportunities that we were talking about. You really need that. And so that was one of the reasons we decided to go for that certification. Another reason was that we actually also, we did work and do many projects for like medical organizations, where we went through all the requirements that are needed for a certification. So we are really a security and risk-based working company, but we don't have the certification, and there it worked out. And then we said, giving all of this combined, let's also take our responsibility to go for the certification and take the opportunity to improve ourselves and become basically a better company also on the information security aspect. So then if you go through an ISO certification, you touch everything in your company concerning information security. And then one of the things that you have to work on is your access management, and become in control of who has access to which system. And then we have a challenge because we work for many different clients. On average, we have like 50 customers that are running in parallel, or we're maintaining some of their systems, and then 100 plus employees. They're all in different teams divided. Every project has different rules for access, but also every project, it's not that we have one type of technology or one type of system. For some customers we work on Google Cloud, for some customers we work on Microsoft Azure, and also we have projects on all these cloud platforms. So getting a grip of who has access on which system, well, the number of systems and projects become a lot, and it's quite a complicated a difficult problem to solve, to get that in a good maintainable way, have that overview. And we like to get to a central view. And let me go here. What we had as our requirements here, and this is also some of the things that we learned from other from customers that we have that are already working with these kind of systems, is that usually you need to create an administration in which you keep all of your access information. You keep that administration, but it's a sort of a bookkeeping system that exists next to the actual systems to which people have access, and that leads to a sort of a double administration, and it's becoming hard. Where is the truth? We have customers, some really big companies where we work. We get team members get accounts to certain systems, and then we know it's maybe 4 or 5 weeks after the fact that the bookkeeping system of the access management is updated, and so it's always behind on how things are actually working. And then if you come into a an incident or there's something going on, you're looking at data that describes the situation from a couple of weeks ago. We did not want to go that way, because as we said, we are doing this project not just to get a certification, but also to actually improve the way we worked with these things and how we are in control. But we found also it was pretty hard to find a system, and then we're software developers ourselves, and then it's always you always come into this build or buy decision. And as software developers, we always very quickly think of a way of building it ourselves, and then we come up with a nice solution pretty quickly. But then maintaining everything is a lot harder, and you pay the price later. And so we really had a preference to find a solution that's on the market. And we were working with a consultant, and we challenged him. There has to be a system that can help us in this way, that we don't need to go and work in a sort of double administration for our access information. So, and that's basically where he found Elimity as being a solution to this problem. Because what Elimity does for us is that it connects to all the systems that we're using, and is actually pooling the access data and all the authorizations into one central system, and then checks it with the rules that we've set of who can have access to what. And then if we then detect an issue there and something is not correct towards how it should be, it flags that, and it gives it opens a ticket for us. And then we don't update some bookkeeping or administration. We actually go to the source system, and there we fix the authorization that's not correct. And the day after, it runs again, pulling all of the information from the source systems, and then it sees, hey, this was an issue yesterday, it's now resolved, it's okay. So the ticket is closed, and we get a full audit trail of how something was signaled and now is resolved. So that's a really nice way that we really have the truth in the systems where all the accounts and all the access is, and then we have a product that connects to all those systems and helping us to get an overview of what's there. And then there are quite a lot of out-of-the-box connectors that can connect to a lot of systems and cloud platforms that we are working with already. And then for every project, we're having other systems that are not supported yet by Elimity. And then for some, we're working together to create a custom connector, or we can hook it up through a manually configured connector, so that we can always connect every system that we have. So that was a really great match to our requirements. But then the proof is in the pudding, as we always say. So we had a nice introduction, and we got the presentation, and it looks all really nice, and it looks like this could work. But then you have to try it, and that's also the way that we work with Elimity in our implementation. We did first a pilot phase, a trial, so to say, of a few months, where we worked together to select a scenario and some systems that we wanted to connect, and that we could see, yeah, this can work for the complexity that we have with all these projects, all these customers, all these systems. And then we went into into a couple of weeks that we were working closely together to configure our central code repository and a cloud platform and our Google Workspace to go through that. Can we configure it in such a way that it works for us? Well, one of the nice things is during the piloting, then you start connecting and you're getting that overview. We were finding already, hey, here's someone who still has access, who should not have access anymore. Oh, bam, you clean it up immediately. Hey, this person has access, but he's not configured into the right organization. Okay, resolve that. So actually, while implementing, we were also cleaning up stuff and finding out things that were open that we were not in control of yet, but we also didn't know we weren't in control of. So actually, during the trial, we improved ourselves already one step, and after having that successfully, decided to go for this solution, and that was in the beginning of the year. And the way we are working with this currently is that we're basically step by step going for each project that we have implementing it, adding new connectors, and they're step by step becoming more and more in control on the access management. So yeah, I think this is basically our story of how we found Elimity and how we are working with it today.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. So what I'll do, Jasper, after your introduction about Q42 specifically, I'll now show a bit of the general approach of Elimity and how that fits in what you just told. So let me share my screen here for a moment. So like Jasper said, we at Elimity, we provide a platform. That's what Q42 is using as well. More specifically, a platform for lightweight identity governance, we like to call it. So identity governance is really the name in the market for what Jasper described as taking control over who can access what. And this approach really is rooted in looking at identity governance as a data problem, meaning that we focus on the essentials of proving that you're in control, meaning that you should at least have this visibility of your users and their permissions. You should then let IT, business, security teams, all of these people review and clean up these accounts and access, take action on any findings, and then finally automatically monitor over time. That's really a closed loop data approach that lets you get in control and remain in control of who can access what really fast. And so the platform itself, that's really specifically built for this vision. So think of this as a sort of the same reasoning as a Power BI, but then specifically for identity and access management, and it goes beyond just reporting. So meaning that it should really enable you to collect data, and with data I mean the users, the permissions, the roles, the groups of your most important sources. And what that is really depends on you, on your organizations. From a security perspective, 9 out of 10 is Active Directory, Entra ID, SaaS applications, databases, cloud environments, SharePoint, file shares, all of those things. Whatever is important for your cybersecurity, where your critical data resides, where your critical systems are, those are the systems for which you want to have visibility on who can do something in those systems. So that's the collecting the data, then secondly, understanding who can currently do what and identify risk to monitor access over time, indicate necessary changes, and also running access reviews to include other people like team leaders, application owners in this process as well, if they're interested or if they're responsible for a part of this whole scope of your organization. So really this is an identity governance and administration suite without the provisioning, without the lifecycle workflows, all to make it easier to deploy, get faster cybersecurity value. And so this really turns around the typical IGA journey. Typically, you would start with creating these read-write connectors to all of your systems and defining workflows that should be automated, maybe also defining role models to specify who should be able to do what and so on. And security value in that approach really comes at the very end of the journey, once you've gone through all of these steps. Well, in this case, with looking at it as a data problem, we call it security first identity governance or data driven identity governance, because it really focuses on identifying these access risks with as little effort as possible, so that you can then review, clean up, and monitor your users and accesses over time, which really prioritizes cybersecurity return on investment first. So really focus on those largest risks first, and then push heavy investments like automating provisioning, defining these role models, push them forward in time. And so in the case of Q42, a bit what Jasper talked about, they use our standard process of getting in control. And in general, that works in 5 different phases. The first phase is where Q42 is right now. So in that case, it's really about connecting your most important applications, getting towards that visibility, building your data foundation so that you have more and more visibility over time, so that you then focus on cleaning up, removing any risks that might be there, because identity governance, because you're taking first steps in mature identity governance. And then from that point on, expand into the necessary systems, expanding the necessary controls that you apply. And so in general, like I said, these are the systems that are important to your cybersecurity. What we also advise is to take into account an HR system that then tie all of the accounts in the different systems together, ideally to an employee record with then some metadata like the end date, the manager name, the function, the job title, the department, all of that, so that you can then really answer or have a view of which person can now do what, has which permissions. So on this data, we then apply a set of security controls. Our standard approach there works with 8 different categories of security controls. They're deduced from ISO 27001 and SOC 2, and they include things like orphaned accounts, so accounts that shouldn't be there anymore, accounts that belong to people that already left your organization or that don't work on a certain project anymore, or accounts that haven't been logged into in a long time. And secondly, privileged accounts, also a very interesting one, very important one from a cybersecurity perspective. Those are the accounts that have elevated permission, and you should really see that there are no orphan privileged accounts, for example. And then other categories like identity hygiene, role hygiene, so empty groups, data quality, maybe looking at a list of your department definitions from HR, making sure that that fits with all of the other things that you see, that everyone has a manager assigned, that every account has an owner assigned, all of those things. And then around financial systems, segregation of duty, and then always business specific policies as well, where we do a bit of a workshop with the customer, because you probably know things that are important to your organization. Could be separation between the production environment and the development environment, or separation between geographies, of all of those things. And those are the interesting ones from my experience. So you put them in the platform based on as queries based on the same data that you saw before, to then get an overview of your largest risks. And if you really want to dig into the details, all of these risks, they're based on data. So if you see a list of 2,000 orphaned accounts and really dig into that list, maybe also start comparing the access of people to see where people can do too much and where there are outliers, for example, by looking at the same people in the same team to cut out excessive permissions, all of that really to focus on where people can do too much and then remove those risks. And on this picture, those are really the first 3 phases. And after that, you grow on the one hand in the amount of systems that you include, but at some point also in the people that you include in this process. Because the core, really these steps 1, 2, and 3, that's meant for the cybersecurity team, people that understand the majority of the organization. But at some point, these people, this team cannot answer everything anymore. So you need to involve other people, like team leaders who are responsible for their team, or application owners for their application, project owners for their projects, maybe site owners in SharePoint, file owners in file shares. All of these people that are responsible for just a small part of the complete picture, and you involve them not by giving them access to the complete data set that I've shown you before, but rather in a process that is called access reviews or recertifications, where you send them a specific question. For example, to review accounts that belong to people in their team, like these orphan accounts, like I said before, or who can access resources of a specific project and so on. Make these questions as understandable as possible, and then the platform really takes on the heavy lifting for running this process, like sending out invitations and reminders if people don't respond in time, providing them with a nice interface if people provide feedback, and turning that into change requests that are forwarded to an ITSM system, and providing you with audit proof on the progress of these campaigns. That's really the process that everyone these days, every security conscious organization should be running, and that the platform makes very easy to run as well. And so ideally, once you go beyond what the security team can answer, then you start in phase 4, with first including these people with a focus again on cleanup. So again, with those controls that you've seen before, if you have these data quality issues or orphan accounts or list of privileged accounts or business specific controls with risks, then focus on where your risk is highest, and first ask these people to answer questions that would mitigate these risks, or whether these accounts that you think that are not needed anymore, whether they still are needed. And once you get into a more security improved posture, then from that point on, mature into more structural governance with continuous monitoring, where you get notified if new violations for these controls are found, but also where you run these access reviews, not on specific parts of risky accounts of the in your data set, but rather on the complete data set, and let them, for example, review, let the team leader, for example, review all the groups that his employees have in Google Cloud or in Active Directory or in Azure AD or all of these things. And that's really a phased approach that makes this feasible, even if you're a smaller organization like Q42 is, but you're very security conscious. You want to do this properly, you want to do this right. And this is an approach that really allows you to do this and make improvements, focus on your most important risks first, without at any point having to do a big bang deployment of anything. And so that's the flow of the process. If you really want, if you think that, well, this is definitely interesting, we would also want some insights in our risks. Then also know that we provide this as a service, or our partners at least do, where someone comes in with the platform and does this analysis for you, deploys it, connects it to your top 5, top 10 systems, and gives you this overview of your most important risks, so you can keep on working at it. So lowering the needed effort even more. And that's really a service that is added on top of the platform. If you're interested in the platform itself, then by all means take a look at these resources. So there's some information on how to prove that you're in control. This guide here on top right, definitely our most downloaded guide by far, and also called the KPI guide. And if you have any other questions, we have some time right now, also for Jasper or for myself. That's really the essence. If you think of this problem, if you think of taking control, you want to show that you're in control towards your CISO or towards an auditor, for example, for ISO 27001 or SOC 2 or any provide NIS2 these days as well, then at least think of this problem as a data problem. Even if you don't use our platform to do that, look at what people can actually do right now, apply collected data, apply controls to that, and make sure that you focus on your critical risks first to really keep on improving over time. That would be my major message for all of you today.
All right, then I will indeed take over. First of all, Jasper, thank you so much for being here with us. Let's give the audience a couple of seconds to think and to reflect of some questions. But I personally already learned a lot, not only about elephants and about wolves in the Netherlands, but also indeed how your journey from a customer perspective are. So thank you so much for sharing. Indeed, let's give the people a couple of seconds, and if you are there, some housekeeping right on your right side, there is the chat. You can drop all your questions there for Martin, for Jasper, maybe for myself. Maybe I'm also able to answer some questions. So please feel free to ask everything you would like to hear from us. All right, then I will maybe start with the first question, and that's one I see. Let's see, maybe for Jasper, it's when you were looking at the ISO as such. ISO is way much more, of course, as only identity and access management. When you compare the complexity from what you have done, how complex would you see the EIM part or the part you solved with Elimity in comparison to all the rest?
So if I understand correctly, basically how is the complexity of this access management getting in?
Indeed,
control
when
there
you like have all the, indeed, you have a whole list of controls, and EIM is one of them. Is it the most complex one, or is it rather an easy one?
Yeah, no, it's one of the most complex ones for us, and that has to do with the fact that we're a consulting company, so we work with many different customers, all with their own systems and in all these different clouds. So we don't have one make tailor-made software, so we don't have one generic technology that we work with. So the number of combinations basically explode. That's what happened there. And we also gave ourselves the assignment and the challenge to become really good in control. So we did during our audit. It was well, actually, the auditor he was smiling because he really liked the approach that we're taking. Maybe it goes a bit further than you usually see here. So.
No, that's really great to hear. That indeed, maybe from our side, that what we also see with other customers, right? You have a whole list, and indeed, Elimity is not the golden key that will solve you everything, but the identity and access management part is usually perceived as one of the hardest ones to fix, to get that visibility, and that's then indeed the tool to do that, maybe to summarize it that way.
Yeah, maybe, Christian, to briefly step in there, that's also one of the reasons that it's a bit of a shame, because from a security perspective these days, so not compliance, but really security, 99% of attacks start with stolen credentials. So those accounts and making sure that people cannot do too much and least privilege and all of that is also, from a security team, one of the first things, one of the major impacts. But it remains very complex, especially if you, like Jasper says, have so many systems and so many people. I'm guessing, Jasper, in your case as well, the projects are a very important concept, right, in that access management. So I talked about team leads and so on, but in your case, project and project leaders that look at what people can do within their project is probably one of the core concepts within that governance. Is that right?
It is, and there are also there are quite some projects that we're doing that were on the primary process of our customer, and also a lot of personal data is going through those systems. So it's really very important that we're in control.
All right, then let's maybe go towards the next question. We have one question: are all the applications needed to be cloud-based? So I would assume with application the target systems or the sources are meant. Maybe in general, Martin, a question for you, and then maybe from you, Jasper, how is your setup looking like, if you are willing to share that with the audience?
No, definitely not. So we, from a technical perspective, the sources so that you include can be on-premise or cloud. From our perspective, our application as well, so Elimity Insights, we provide both deployments in our SaaS as well as on-premise. If you do on-premise, then you can connect directly to Active Directory, file shares, and so on. If you do a SaaS deployment, then for the on-premise pieces, you need a piece of software, we call that an agent, that might connect to or collect data from Active Directory and then push it to the cloud every day, for example, or every hour, whatever you want. So no, it's really a mix between on-premise stuff, and systems that are in your private cloud, maybe that we cannot scan from the outside. And if you have our SaaS deployments, as well as SaaS applications like Entra ID or Salesforce or SharePoint and so on, then we can do direct communication. You just provide credentials in the system and collect directly. Yeah.
Yeah, and for us, we don't have systems on premise, but we do have systems in what you'd call a private cloud, or basically an environment where Elimity cannot connect to. And maybe it's a nice bridge. I see the next question is, we can give an example of a custom developed connector. Actually, our HR system is that's a system that we developed ourselves. So that's where we keep all the employees and when they entered started working with us. So we have that privately hosted with our own database, and to create the connection with Elimity, and we're software developers, so we can work really well with the APIs that are there. So we were able to connect it that way. And then also interesting, in our case, there was one cloud platform for sale, which did not have Elimity did not have a standard connector for that, and we were discussing that, and it's becoming more and more popular in for website development and hosting websites there. So there, Elimity actually implemented a standard connector to that cloud platform. And a way that I like very much as with a developer background, that there's a way in Elimity to create a connector that that you can connect to a CSV file. So if you're able to export a CSV file to a certain location, then you can say to Elimity, pick it up there, and there you have the information. And that's a really low barrier entry to at least have a connection to the system. And then from there on, you can then say, okay, we need to have a more secure or stable, robust connection. You can always take it from there. But that's a flexibility that that makes it really easy to connect lots of different systems. Because I think that's everywhere you go. We see it with every customer. Oh, and then there's another system you never heard of before, and that's
I like what you're saying, because those CSV files, that's what we use heavily in those first phases. If you think back to the picture that I was presenting, those first phases where you want to have that visibility as soon as possible, you might not want to invest any time in a robust connector, like you call it, yet. Let's just do it quick and dirty first, and then afterwards, once you start cleaning up, then mature your connections to an automated connector as well that might update it automatically. And in your case, it's just insane how fluent those people are with the APIs that we provide, with the libraries. Yeah, it was really cool to see. Okay. Christian, are there any more questions?
I don't think there are any more questions. So, and I think there was quite some good questions. Oh no, I hear myself double. Anyway, thank you so much, Jasper, for taking the time, being with us, sharing all those kind of things, sharing the journey. Really much appreciated. Like I said, I learned about the wolves in Netherlands and about the elephants in Africa. So that's really great. What is also amazing is indeed, if you want to make your auditors smile, like Jasper said, please reach out either to myself or to Martin, or consult our website for some more stuff. I think that's a really good one to close it off over here. Thank you so much for staying with us, spending the last 45 minutes with us. There are going to be more webinars of that kind soon. I personally really enjoyed it. Real customer cases are my favorite because it always gives some great insights. So again, Jasper, thank you so much. Are there anything else, Martin or Jasper, you want to have a closing remark or something, or are we closing the webinar over here? No closing remarks. Then thank you everyone for joining. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning for everyone you joined. And thank you so much. See you all next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.